Senator Bettencourt, welcome back to the program. The governor has now backed the House version for property taxes, the compression version. Does that mean the Senate's idea to increase the homestead exemption, is that officially dead now?
No, it just means that we've got two people we need to convince. But the one person that we don't have to convince is all 5.72 million homeowners in the state of Texas. When you look at the Senate plan, it basically saves about $1,250 a year to $1,450 a year. It's blockbuster, eye-popping numbers. About half of that is the homestead exemption. So the public needs that homestead exemption to get that level of savings. And I look forward to a robust debate about it.
Is there conversations happening in the background? Are people talking back and forth to the governor and to Speaker Phelan to see if there can be an agreement on this?
Well, there were conversations that I can remember that of Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, just to start with. But the bottom line here is that the homestead exemption has always been a big part of the Senate's plan. When we first laid it out in February, March, April, it's not something that you can take away, because if you do take that away, the homeowners, all 5.72 million, get about half of what they should. The House needs to come back and pass the plan. That's the bottom line. They by passing their plan and signing dying, it makes it very difficult to have a discussion. So we'll be in next week working on another bill in the Senate, and I hope they come back and work on the Senate bill. It's the Texas two-step. It's the right plan for Texans, because you get compression for all taxpayers, and the homeowners get a whopping $100,000 homestead exemption, and it's permanent. That's the big difference between the two plans. The homestead exemption is permanent for 5 million plus homeowners in the state.
Senator, what do you make of the House passing its version, throwing it back to you guys in the Senate, and just adjourning?
Well, that would not be the preferred method of negotiation that I would like to have. It generally takes two parties being present to have a discussion. And so we're going to continue to go back and work at the Senate. We got another bill to work on next week. I hope they reconsider and come back to the table, because the homeowners need that money. They are the ultimate consumers generally in society. They pay for businesses, they pay for themselves, they pay for government. And it's very important that they get that property tax relief. And look, for a 30-year mortgage, Jason, we're talking about $20,000. I mean, this is not insignificant. This is real money for an average homeowner. And we're talking about the average value of the home in the state's $331,000. So this homestead exemption is going to be wildly popular, like the last one passed 85% with the public. I think this one will pass even higher.
The House is adjourned, so it's just the Senate there in the Capitol right now. What are your options from here?
Well, there is something called restore. They can come back. There is some archaic language. There's always something,
Is that going to happen, do you think?
Well, they could. They should. I mean, we're going to come back and continue to work. The problem here is that, look, everybody can have an opinion, but at the end of the day, what matters to Texas taxpayers? And the bottom line is, we're not going to leave 5.72 million homeowners completely behind on a tax bill. Look, what's worked that I've seen, that I've been working on for years, is we've got average home bills in Houston, Austin, and San Antonio down last year. Well, it's because we had compression and a homestead exemption. Now, what didn't happen in the Dallas-Fort Worth area is they didn't get the same good tax rate votes that occurred down, in these other cities. But with this amount of money, $17.6 billion in compression and homestead exemptions, everybody's bill is going to be down everywhere in the state. And that's going to be true really no matter where you're paying school taxes.
Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick told us last week that the House and Senate were on the 1 yard line when it comes to this issue with property taxes just before the session ended last week. The regular session ended. What happened to that?
Well, the problem is that you can be on the 1 yard line, but it's not a touchdown. That's just the bottom line. And with all of these discussions, I think the intent of the Senate has been crystal clear, which is compression is something that I filed for the first time in 2021 in the special sessions. The homestead exemption was a compromise at the end of 2021 brought by Lieutenant Governor. So we're combining both of those plans, and we've been consistent of that all year. So we need to stay with that. Having a switch to just a compression only plan means that homeowners will get a lot less, like about half of what they could get with the homestead. So this is not an insignificant argument that's happening here, because if you're a homeowner and you're expecting a tax cut of about $1,300 some odd dollars, well, the problem is you just lost 681 if you don't get that homestead, and the only way to get it is for the House to pass it and for the public to vote on it in November. And that's a big sticking point. And that started occurring on Monday, because what happened was we were told it was, a compression or bust. And sorry, we're going to keep working, because that's not a good enough answer for 5.72 million Texas homeowners.
Did it surprise you to see the governor come out and say he favors compression?
Well, everybody can have an opinion, and it's great that we have now heard that opinion on the first day of the special session. But we've already had enough discussion, and we know how the tax roll works, to where to get the extra savings for homeowners, you've got to have the exemption, and you need it for two reasons. One, you need it for the dollar amount, but you need it for the permanency. Because once the public votes themselves an increase in the homestead exemption, it's permanent. It stays part of the landscape. It means every year you're going to get that exemption no matter where you live. And that's a very powerful idea that I hope everyone recognizes at the end of the day. And we're just going to keep talking about it, because I know it's the right solution. I think it's a Texas two-step compression and homestead exemption that I think is best for Texas homeowners and Texas taxpayers.
Senator, are there any behind the scenes negotiations, any informal talks happening right now?
As best I can tell, there's talks happening informally. There's talks happening on Twitter. There's talks happening on Facebook. There's talks happening in the media. Yes, there's talks happening, but I think it's important just to take all the froth out of any discussion and just say, what's best for Texas taxpayers? Well, a 21.8% reduction in taxes wherever you are on your tax rate is a great thing, and an extra $100,000 exemption for homesteads is a fabulous thing. And the combination of that is a Texas two-step we all should be dancing to, and that's why the Senate has it in their plan, and that will save roughly $1,350 on average for every homeowner, all 5.72 million of them in the state, and that's why the Senate's pushing homestead exemptions.
Senator, before we let you go, I want to ask you about special sessions. I mean, the first one seems essentially dead. How many more do you expect this summer?
Well, I really have nothing else to do this summer. So, and I mean, we also have the impeachment, and so the Senate's going to be back no matter what. So I just hope the House comes back and we could talk about this really good property tax plan, because Texas homeowners deserve a homestead exemption increase. It's part of $17.6 billion. We have the money. They'll vote for it in November, and it will hit their tax bill immediately. And that's the type of quick response that government should have when they've got $17.6 billion of money to spend.
Senator Bettencourt, we always appreciate the time. Thank you.
And let's hope we all live long and prosper.